If death were a law of biology, the ocean never signed it. There are animals in the deep sea that don't heal after being destroyed, they continue. Bones become nurseries. Injury becomes a reset button. Being torn apart becomes a reproductive strategy. Death shows up, and the systems that should stop simply don't. What you're about to see isn't survival. It's biology refusing to cooperate with the ending. So, if life can ignore death entirely, what does death actually mean? Starting with Osedax. When researchers first lowered cameras onto the skeleton of a dead whale on the seafloor, they expected silence. Whale falls are supposed to be the quiet aftermath of death, a slow fade into sediment. Instead, the footage came back crawling. Pale, flower-like shapes were embedded in the bone itself. They were not scavenging the meat. They were drilling into the skeleton. These were zombie worms, known as Osedax. They do not have mouths, they do not have stomachs, they do not even have a digestive tract. Instead, they grow root-like structures that penetrate deep into whale bones. Those roots secrete acid, dissolving the hard calcium and releasing fats trapped inside. Symbiotic bacteria do the actual digestion. The worm simply absorbs the nutrients through its own body. Death did not feed these animals. Death created them. Entire colonies form only after a whale dies and sinks. When the bones are gone, the worms disappear. Their entire existence is built around the certainty that something massive must die first. Even their reproduction is warped by this lifestyle. The females are large and visible. The males never grow up. They remain microscopic, living inside the females' bodies like biological spare parts, existing only to fertilize eggs and then vanish. This is not survival after death. This is life engineered for it. But some ocean creatures don't wait for death to arrive. They simply reverse it. The immortal jellyfish looks unremarkable, a translucent bell a few centimeters wide, drifting with the current. But when it is injured, starved, or stressed, it does something no animal was ever supposed to do. Instead of dying, it collapses into a gelatinous mass and reverts to its juvenile form. Adult cells transform back into immature ones. The life cycle runs backward, from polyp to jellyfish to polyp again. This process, called transdifferentiation, is not theoretical. It has been observed repeatedly in laboratories and in the wild. There is no known limit to how many times this jellyfish can reset itself. It can still be eaten, it can still be destroyed, but aging as a concept simply doesn't apply. Death shows up. The jellyfish edits the timeline and keeps going. Then there are creatures that don't reverse death at all. They make it fail by breaking themselves apart. Marine planarian flatworms are small, soft-bodied animals that look fragile enough to vanish under a boot. But cut one in half and you don't get a corpse. You get two animals. Cut it into pieces and each fragment reorganizes itself into a complete, functioning worm. Brain, gut, nerves, skin, all rebuilt from scratch. Some species show no measurable aging. There is no clear center to destroy, no single point that counts as the animal's self. Killing by disassembly doesn't work. You didn't end its life, you multiplied it. Under a microscope, this regeneration looks less like healing and more like controlled chaos. Cells migrate, reassign roles, and rebuild structures with disturbing confidence. Biology doesn't scramble to save the animal. It calmly starts again. What ties these creatures together isn't immortality. It's indifference. Death arrives, and the systems that should shut down simply don't. Bone becomes food. Injury becomes a reset. Destruction becomes reproduction. On land, death is final because it has to be. Energy is limited, bodies are rigid, damage accumulates. In the ocean, pressure supports soft structures, chemistry does the work of digestion, and time stretches until failure loses urgency. Some ocean creatures don't rebuild themselves after damage, they simply remove the idea of damage altogether. Comb jellies drift through the water like loose fragments of light. Their bodies are clear, fragile-looking, and lined with shimmering rows of cilia that scatter color as they move. At first glance, they seem delicate, but structurally, they are almost impossible to finish off. Their nerves form a loose net spread through the body. Signals don't travel from a command hub, they ripple. This means there is no switch you can flip to shut the animal down. Damage doesn't cascade, it localizes. Large sections can be torn away, and what remains continues to function, feeding, moving, and responding to its environment. Some species regenerate. Lost tissue with ease, others simply keep going without it. To a predator, they are unsatisfying. There is no clean kill, no decisive moment. You bite into something that refuses to stop being itself. In footage from deep water submersibles, comb jellies can be seen drifting calmly through clouds of debris, their bioluminescent flashes pulsing softly as if nothing is wrong. In evolutionary terms, they are ancient, branching off early from the rest of the animal kingdom. Their solution to death was not strength or speed, it was decentralization. And then there are animals that survive not by resisting death, but by moving so slowly that it never quite arrives. Deep-sea sponges look less like animals and more like geological features. They anchor themselves to the sea floor, often thousands of meters down, where light never reaches and currents barely move. Some species are believed to be hundreds, possibly thousands of years old. They do not hunt, they just filter. Water moves through their porous bodies, carrying oxygen and microscopic food particles. Cells capture what they need and pass the rest along. There are no organs, no muscles, no nerves, just coordinated layers of living tissue, quietly processing the environment. What makes sponges unsettling is not their age, it is their resilience. In laboratory conditions, sponges have been pushed through fine meshes until their cells separated completely. Given time, those cells recognized each other, reassembled, and formed a functioning sponge again. Death depends on systems failing faster than they can be repaired. Sponges removed urgency from the equation. Their metabolism is slow. Their structure is modular. Damage happens, but it does not matter enough to be fatal. They do not escape death. They outwait it. Taken together, these creatures expose something uncomfortable. Death isn't a single rule, it's a process. And processes can be interrupted, reversed, delayed, or repurposed. Zombie worms turn corpses into ecosystems. Jellyfish rewind themselves out of danger. Flatworms turn destruction into multiplication. Comb jellies remove the idea of a killing blow. Sponges slow life until failure loses momentum. None of this is magic. It's chemistry, structure, and time working under conditions we rarely experience. The deep ocean doesn't demand urgency. Pressure supports soft bodies. Cold slows reactions. Darkness removes the need to rush. In that environment, death isn't an event. It's a suggestion biology can ignore. That's the part that feels wrong. We think of death as absolute because it has to be for us. Our bodies are rigid. Our systems depend on constant energy. Damage stacks. But in the ocean, especially the deep ocean, life learned other options. If you enjoy watching nature quietly reject our rules, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you want to see what happens when humans tried to force death to win, watch The Shocking Things humans killed sperm whales for.